Hello mates, and welcome to today's tutorial. Today we'll be learning how to make this beautiful trendy Agbada Bubu using an ankara fabric. This can also be styled as a kimono, just like you can see on your screen. If you'd love to know how to go about the making of this, please stick with me to the end of this tutorial and let's get started. With me here, I have 6 yards of beautiful ankara print. Other popular fabrics which are normally used for this style is damask and brocade. Also, I have this fabric. This is soft scuba, and this is what I'll be using to make the maxi dress that I'll be using inside, and I'll also be using it for the design in front of this gown. The first thing you need to do is to know how many inches to put your fabric on fold, and for this style the shoulder is cut together with the sleeve, so that means that the width of the material is going to be longer than normal. So what you need to do is to divide your shoulder measurement by 2. For me, I have 8.5. Make sure to add 1 inch for that because of the style we are creating. That is going to give me 9.5. Now you will be adding 6 inches because of the agbada effect you want to give to the gown, and then decide how long you want your sleeve to be and add that. For me, I'll be using 11 inches. Go ahead and add all these together. For me, I have 26.5 inches. Now because your fabric is going to be on fold, multiply what you get by 2. So after multiplying mine, I have 53 inches. So I'm going to cut my fabric at 53 inches, put it on fold, and what I'm going to have on both sides is 26.5 inches. Taking the measurement of what I have here, you will see that I have about 27 inches on fold. So this is perfectly okay. For this style, you'll be cutting the front and the back piece together. So just go ahead and place your front piece on your back piece like this. Make sure to align it properly and pin it down. Draw a starting line at the top of your fabric, just like I'm doing here. This starting line is also going to serve as your shoulder line. After you're done doing that, for the neckline, you're going to come in from the center front by 2.5 inches for the neck width, and then come down by 1.5 inch for the neck depth. Connect these together using a curve, just like I'm doing here. Now this neckline is what we'll be using for now. We'll be cutting out the front neckline much later. On this shoulder line, also mark half of your shoulder measurement. For me, it's 8.5, and then adding 1 inch because of the style we are making, it's going to be 9.5. After marking that, from that point you'll be marking 6 inches, which is going to be for that agbada effect, just like we calculated at the beginning of the video. So at the end, this part will be folded in like this to create the agbada effect. From that point, now you're going to mark the length of the sleeves you want to use. For me, I'll just mark 11 inches. Then from that point, I'm going to determine how open I want my sleeve to be. So I'll be using about 12 inches for that. So I'm just going to mark that there and then connect it with a straight line. So just go ahead and do yours the same way. After doing that, you come to the main bodies of your fabric, and then you just be needing 1 measurement for this, the biggest part of your body. So for me, the biggest part is my hip, so I'm going to mark quarter of my hip measurement, which is my hip divided by 4. I have 13 inches, and after marking that, you also be adding extra inches. This is because this is a bubu and it has to be big. Just add how many inches is comfortable for you. For me, I'll be adding 5 inches including the stitching allowance. After marking that, just connect it with a curve into that point there, more like you're creating an armhole curve into that point there. That is the sleeve. Then take the full measurement of what you have around this area. For me, I have 18.5 inches. Now I'm going to continue marking this all to the length of my fabric, and then I'll connect this with a straight line just like this. After we are done with this, what you are going to do now is to go ahead and cut this out following all these lines that you just drew, just like you see me doing here. After cutting it out, you can see how beautiful this looks. If you notice, the front and the back are exactly the same. So what you are going to do is just to pick one of the fabric to be the front. So for the front, so I'll just be picking this upper one. I'll be moving the other one inside so I don't mistakenly cut it out with this one that I've picked for the front. So I'm just going to draw a line just from this neck width here, just like I'm creating a V. You don't need any particular measurement. Just create a V to this point here downwards. And then using my scissor, I'm just just going to cut out through this point, and when I get here, I'm just going to stop, and then I'll be cutting it straight all the way to the length of my fabric. Taking the measurements, what I have is around 0.75, so I'm just going to cut it like that to the end of my fabric to create an opening. After doing that, you would notice that these two has separated, so this is going to give like a kimono kind of vibe now. And then what you're going to do is to open up your back piece like this, bringing in the front piece. Place the front piece right side to the back piece just like this, and then pin it down at the shoulder. What you'll be doing here is to stitch this down using half-inch stitching allowance, and after doing that, don't forget to just hem the end of your sleeves at once. I'll be repeating the same thing to the other side. I'll just place the front piece right side to the back piece, pin it down at the shoulder, stitch it down using half-inch stitching allowance, and also hem the ends of the sleeve. After stitching this down, you can see how beautiful this came out, and I've also gone ahead to hem the end of my sleeve. Now the next thing you are going to do is to take the measurement of what you have at this opening in front. After taking the measurement, what I have for mine is 132 inches. Now what I'm going to do is to cut out a fabric about 132 inches long. Then for the width, opening it up, I have about 4 inches, and on fold you can see here I have 2 inches. Now I'll be using half-inch to stitch this down to the fabric, to the main fabric, and what you're going to have left is about 1.5 inch, which is perfectly okay. Now take this and place it at that opening in front just like I'm doing here. Just pin it down like this. Now what you'll be doing is to stitch this down using half-inch stitching allowance all the way around. After stitching it down, you can see how beautiful this came out. This is what yours should look like. Now we'll be creating that agbada effect. What you have to do is just to open this up to the sleeve part. Now what we'll be doing is to create this agbada effect here. Coming in from the end of your sleeve, mark 9 inches. Now it depends on where you want the agbada effect to be. If you want it to come higher instead of where mine was, maybe around your shoulder area, all you need to do is to mark more inches, maybe like 12 inches or thereabout. But for me, this is where I wanted mine to be, so I'm just going to mark 9 inches. Now after marking that 9 inches, remember that we added 6 inches for the agbada effect. Now divide that 6 inches by 2 and you have 3. From this first point you marked, you're going to just mark 3 inches just like I did here. Now what you're going to do is to hold this point where you mark 3 inches and fold it up until you get to this first point here. I'm just going to repeat this. After marking the 9 inches or whatever inches is comfortable for you, depending on where you want the agbada design to be, you mark half of the 6 inches we marked earlier, which is 3. Then you're going to pinch it this way and hold it until you get to the first point. Now I'm going to go ahead and pin this down. You can see here that we are already having the agbada effect. What you just do now is to stitch this down together, probably from somewhere around here to here. This is going to help to hold this design in place. After stitching this down, you can see how beautiful this came out. Now this is what it should look like on yours too. Don't forget to do this on the other side of the sleeve. What you're going to do now is to turn this to the wrong side like this. What we'll be doing here is to close up the sides. And before we go ahead to close up the sides, we'll be inserting a pocket to this. So all you need to do is to determine where you want your pockets to start. So first, starting from the shoulder, I'm going to mark down 20 inches here. And then to determine how open I want my pocket to be, I'll be using about 8.5 inches, and I'm just going to mark that there. Now we'll be stitching this down all the way from the sleeve area. I'll stop at this point. I'll be leaving this part open for my pocket and then stitch down what I have remaining to the end of the fabric. After stitching this down, you can see that I have my pocket opening here. Now the next thing we'll be doing is to cut out the pocket to insert to this opening. Now I have this piece of fabric here which I'll be using for the pocket. It's about 14.5 inches wide and it's about 36 inches long. So what I'm going to do here is to fold this into 2 like this and then fold it into 2 again. Now we have folded it into 4, and this is because we are cutting the both sides of the pocket together. Okay, you can see the width we have here is about 9 inches, which is perfectly okay. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to trim off the upper part like this, and then take the measurement of how long I want my pocket to be. Remember that on the main gown, the space we left for the pocket was about 8.5 inches. Now just add 1 inch for stitching allowance and mark this at 9.5 inches, and then cut this out. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the sides of the pocket so I'll be able to separate them. I'll be separating this like this, and you can see that we have 4 pieces here, 2 for each side of the pocket. What we'll be doing now is to insert this pocket into the gown. We'll be going to our machine to do this. To insert the pocket, you will see here that this opening here, I can't really bring out this side because it's hooked because of this stitch we made. Now I'm going to turn this to the wrong side, and what you do is just to notch it at this point, and also to notch it at this down point, that is where the stitch stopped. Okay, so after notching it, I'm going to turn this to the right side, and you can see that this can easily come out. This is going to make it easy for you to stitch down your pocket. Now place your pocket right side to this side like this, and then you go ahead and stitch this down just like I'm doing here. After stitching this down, don't forget to stitch what you have towards this pocket. This is going to help your pocket to stay in place without it coming out or looking tacky. Now you will turn this to the wrong side, and what you just do is to close up all the sides of the pocket, and your pocket is ready. After doing that, you can see how my pocket is sitting beautifully inside. This is what you have when you are done doing yours. The next thing we will do is to insert the belt, and to do this, you just turn it to the wrong side. The first thing you are going to do here is to take note of where your half length is, or where your waist is. This is where you will be inserting the belt. So for me, from the shoulder to my waist is about 16 inches. I'm just going to mark this on both sides, and I will connect it with a straight line. Now around this waist area, you're going to take the measurement of what you have and divide that into 2 to get the midpoint. After dividing mine into 2, I have about 18.5 inches, so I'm just going to mark that there. So that point there is going to be my midpoint. The next thing, you have to divide your waist measurement by 4. For me, I have 9 inches. Then from this midpoint, you mark quarter of your waist measurement on this side, and also mark quarter of your waist measurement on the other side. Now this point that you marked is where you will be inserting the belt. Okay, now let's just go ahead and create a belt for this. To create the belt is very easy. I have this piece of fabric here, which is about 4.5 inches wide, and the length is about 36 inches. You don't need it to be very long. Okay, so what you need to do is just to fold in this edge like this, and then fold in this side and fold the other side in the opposite direction, just like this. Then you just fold the both of them together just like I'm doing here. You will make a stitch at the edge from the beginning to the end of the fabric. After doing that, you can see how beautiful this came out. Don't forget you're making 2 belts because we have 2 sides that we'll be attaching the belt to. Now bringing in my fabric, I'll be attaching this belt to these 2 points that I marked here. After attaching the belt, you can see that it's inside already. And make sure that when you are attaching this belt, you're attaching it only to the front of your bubu. Don't stitch it to the back piece. You are stitching it only to the front part of your bubu. Now I've already done that. Now the next thing you'll be doing is to insert your pressing button. I have my pressing button which I'll be using. This is what it looks like. It looks like this. So when you put it together, it locks. I'll just open this up. Now make sure to arrange your fabric properly just like I'm doing here. and then what you will do is to determine where you want to start inserting your pressing button. I'll be doing mine around this area. So then you also determine the distance between each pressing button. Okay, for me, I'll just be using 3 inches. I'll continue marking these 3 inches until I get to the point where I want my slit to start. Also, please do not mark your chalk on this side of the fabric. Just make sure to mark it on the inside part, because it's not going to look neat. You're just going to have chalk stains on the front side, and you'll be inserting the pressing button inside and not outside. As you can see here, I'm even trying to mark the point on this other side because that is where I need it to be. So now I'm going to just go ahead and insert my pressing button on each of these points that I marked. We have come to the end of this tutorial. I hope this tutorial was really helpful. Do let me know in the comment section if you have any questions. I'll see you guys in my next tutorial.